Sunday show presented to you by Scott Vicknair Injury Lawyers. We got a lot to talk about.
Do we?
Kind of. Smash a like button.
Took away. Yes, but this. Get your money's worth out.
Presented to you by the Scott Vicknair Injury Lawyers. Have you been injured in any kind of accident, car, truck, 18-wheeler, or hurt offshore? Scott Vicknair handles it all. Give him a call, y'all, at 504-285-7675 for a free consultation. Yes, a free consultation. They always fight for the win. Ross, Lito in studio. Chaz, what are you spotting? Chaz.
I forgot to get something. I'll be right back. I forgot to get something.
I forgot to start camera, but yeah, make sure y'all smash that like button. See a lot of comments. I'm gonna try to start as many much as possible. Yeah, we're already laughing. So we're gonna talk about Brandon Ingram. We're gonna talk about best trade destinations again. We're gonna talk about Tobias Harris. We're gonna talk about Naji Marshall, but Ross, I want to start with you first. Happy Sunday.
Thanks.
What is your biggest priority this offseason for the Pelicans if you could choose one thing? Biggest priority.
Can't
do that.
Man, that's tough because I still think moving on. Man, that's really tough. I think moving on from Brandon in some form or fashion, but it's tough because I like you have to find a center.
We don't have a big on the roster.
We don't have a center like at all on the roster.
Say anything.
So it's tough because I think one goes with the other. You know what? I'm going to say with the center. Like you have to find a center. Somebody has to play the position that the tallest person plays on the roster. Like we don't have one.
And Chung, you bring up a really good point. You did promise
Is that
the
a 40?
fans. You, Ross.
I'm like, I forgot I had a cold one in the fridge. I'm like, oh man,
That's a cold 45. What that is?
Maybe cold 45. And hey, before any of y'all ask, oh no, my brother, you got to get your own.
Ross, you did promise. We are a show that holds people accountable. You did promise fans that you would play the piano.
No, I did not promise fans. I promised that if we won a playoff series, I would play.
Bullshit.
I never said, "Oh, if we beat the Hornets on a Tuesday night, I'm gonna be tickling the ivory before we start the game." No.
Yeah, Ross, that was a
You gonna be what you call it again?
This is
Doing a what?
That was a little
Tickling the ivory? That's
Why?
Hey yo.
This is common. This is a common reference to playing the
By
piano.
who?
The whole universe, the whole world that plays the piano.
These
I don't
guys.
see. This is the funny part. I don't even play the piano, and I know that.
I've never heard tickle the ivory.
I heard it before. But I just never felt good about it. You know what I'm saying?
Tickling ivory is insane.
Some of the shit that gets said on the show, we call him that insane. With the bar is hold on, we gotta reset. We gotta reset a little bit.
Shout out to Layla making a guest appearance. What's happening?
Justin talks about how this organization doesn't have a big for shows at a time, and we're gonna call tickling the ivory insane.
You gotta stop saying it.
We called it. Yeah, you do keep.
This is the same guy that keeps referring to another beef stew. And
It's his nickname. It's his fucking nickname.
So
Speaking
it's
of beef
tickling
stew,
the ivory.
I promise, Lito, if we do land beef stew,
Stop that.
You promised me what?
Show's off the rails.
What did you?
4 minutes in. Smash like button. All right, Lito, let's get back on track here. Biggest priority this offseason.
The biggest priority, you need a guard. I feel like, to be honest, if you don't acquire Darius Garland or you don't get Trey, which it doesn't sound like you're gonna get, or an adequate point guard to run the team, I feel like the offseason has failed already.
Interesting. So you think a guard is the biggest priority more than changing the roster around Zion, or I guess not, or getting a center, some of the more traditional things we've heard, right? Replacing the coach, getting an impact center, getting Brandon off the roster so you can sort of free up Trey, like all of those other things. You think and you're talking about a true point guard, right?
I'm talking about a lead guard type. I mean, I feel like in that you would in that scenario to acquire one of those players, you would have to get Brandon off the roster.
Very
but
true.
I I feel like if you look at how the Pelicans performed in the fourth quarter, all the blown leads, if you had anybody who steadied the game, made it easier, stopped the scoring droughts, had some creation, either on a perimeter dribble penetration, I think that would have stymied a lot of the slumps that you saw with the team. And you return in the same. Let's say you add a center to it, right? You add it. Let's just say you fuck you on this. You get another center. You still gonna have the same problems, in my opinion, because there's nobody to create an easy shot for anybody.
Let me ask this, like a clarifying question. So, do you think you need an all-star impact true point guard? Because it sounds like some of the things you're saying could be accomplished with almost like a 6-man scoring, like a true six-man scoring guard type of player, almost like if CJ was coming off the bench situation. And I know maybe that's like the second part of what you're asking, but I guess I'm trying to figure out, is there an easier way to get what you're thinking is the biggest priority without like a wholesale change to the roster?
No, I think you need a dynamic guard.
Okay.
You need a dynamic guard. It can't just be Frank from UNO that can walk in and like Jose Alvarado can't do it. No disrespect to Jose, but it can't be him. It got to be an actual dynamic guard. Me and Chris had a conversation the other day about lead guards, actual point guards, and like it's only a few names on the list. And it got to be, in my opinion, if this team has to succeed, it's got to be one of those guys. Because look, I got a Brandon theory, and people ain't gonna like it, but
we're gonna talk about that.
All right, cool.
Look, I got a shout out before I get to Chaz and Chris's thoughts. I got to shout out Donald here, man, on a cruise, and you're updating the internet for us on a Sunday night live show. Donald, appreciate it, man.
Shout out Frank from UNO.
Yeah, shout out. Yeah, who is Frank from
Frank just caught a shred.
Frank, man.
Frank, Bo McCaleb reference right there or something.
Frank, man, you know the old dudes.
Shout out, Bo.
Old dudes who don't do shit, they just shoot.
Yeah, nothing wrong with them.
Frank.
Okay. Chaz, your biggest need or biggest priority this offseason.
I think it's definitely addressing the backcourt, adding some basketball intelligence. Like, truthfully, I do think that's something. If you had a guy that could just like spot start, may not be the appropriate term, but a guy that can give you significant minutes off the bench at that one position when the Pelicans go small. I think really, to me, if that dynamic guard, because I totally agree with Lito, I think you definitely need a dynamic guard play, especially in the playoffs. But in the short term, depending on what the goal is, if you could upgrade Jose, I think you'd see dividends. Like, I remember, again, guys like Alfred Payton being major contributors, like, just because they had the basketball intelligence, they had the know-how to distribute and set people up. But and I just feel like the 5 position, I just feel like that's one of those positions that you can do by committee. I feel like a guy like Nick, I keep saying Nick Richards, and a guy like that is probably a buy low candidate out there, considering, Charlotte's on the record saying they want to lean into the Mark Williams process, which is crazy to me considering how injured he's been, but the talent is there. Ideally, you go get Tyus Jones. Right?
I see some comments I've started with Tyus Jones,
but hey, why stop there? Why not go get?
What's the goal?
Ideally you go get Tyus Jones, but man, I did some math the other day. If the Pelicans make this draft pick, I say the Pelicans stand pat and they make this draft pick at 21. They'll have $12 million available to address maybe like 3 or 4 positions of need. So
That's
have,
including a starting center.
Including a starting center. Yep.
They have an all-star in the making in Goga. Is that right? What's his name?
Goga Batate.
Gogo Batate.
He's on the list. He's on the list.
Check out that show Lito and Chris did. Goga. How you say it?
Jesus.
I'm struggling here.
What's his last name?
I didn't even know he was an NBA player until last week.
I posted the show. I said, I'm about to talk about this dude. He was like, who the fuck is that?
I thought it was a joke. I laughed.
Goga Batate.
Goga Batate.
There you go.
I like Goga. Chris, biggest priority this offseason.
They need a dog, and whether that's in the front office, whether that is on the coaching staff, whether that's on the floor, they need a talented dog. They need somebody that can lead, somebody that can hold multiple parties accountable. I think with this team, a lot of things get out of hand when it feels like we talk so often about no structure, about no organization. And they've tried to bring in people, and maybe they have people with that, players with that kind of mentality, and maybe even some folks on the coaching staff now with that mentality, but they don't have the cachet of sorts for that to be able to be for their voice to be heard and respected, or maybe their play doesn't match what they're trying to say and communicate. They got to find a way, whether it's via trade or whether it's someone that steps up now, whether it's Zion or whether it's somebody that comes back to the coaching staff, or someone that they add or elevate to the coaching staff. Somebody has to be, I think, the leader and the organizer of sorts. And maybe that is a point guard that you guys are talking about. Maybe that's brought by a center or rim protector, but it's a different kind of energy needs to walk into Airline, needs to walk into the Smoothie King Arena, I think, for all of this to work. Hold on.
Oh. Did he just left the stream?
His dog.
Oh, it's the dog. Go ahead, Rob.
No, well, it just because some of the teams that we've already talked about. I don't know if y'all saw the latest Bleacher Report trade idea. In their last mock draft, it was between Charlotte, Houston, and the Pelicans.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
What was it?
The Hornets would get number 3, Cam Whitmore and Jock Landale. Houston would get BI. Pelicans would get Miles Bridges via sign and trade. Jayshawn Tate, number 6 this year, and number 44. Which, I mean,
I ain't mad at that.
Wait, what pick you said? Just on the Pelicans only get pick 44?
No, they get 6 from Charlotte. So Charlotte would get 3.
Yeah, I ain't mad at that.
So you'd get Miles Bridges. Basically, you get Miles Bridges, Jayshawn Tate, and number 6.
Okay, so the crown jewel of that pick is probably like Jayshawn, and because you're betting on his potential in pick 6. So
and Miles Bridges in a sign and trade.
I like.
Yeah, Miles Bridges is a good like rotational player, but okay, I take it.
Anyway, it was just an interesting. Yeah, it was an interesting one because I don't, especially after coming off of the Houston had no interest in a Şengün deal. I don't know why they would do this one either, but it was just an interesting one where it was like, okay, the Houston seems to be giving up a lot less. We know they don't want that pick anyway. Anyway, it just was a sidebar that I thought was really interesting.
I think Jayshawn Tate could be who the Pelicans pretend like Larry is.
I thought the exact same thing. He could be like what they want Larry to be.
Yeah.
Explain.
Have y'all watched the Jayshawn Tate that I haven't? What y'all see?
I watched Larry, so I don't think.
But he ain't. Yeah, but he's not even close to a small ball 5. Like he can't even like
Larry not either though. So I'm saying we're saying the same thing.
I think we have a comment from Just Tweaking. Tate at the 5.
I mean, I was not necessarily thinking about him being at the 5. I was thinking more of a 4, to be honest. But
he's like one of those PJ Tucker type guys that, like, in the right situation, is physical enough to.
Oh man, I'm thinking about somebody else.
Yo, he's 6'4". What y'all talking about?
Yeah, I'm thinking about somebody else. Jayshawn Tate is nah. Fuck off, nah.
What y'all talking about? He's 6.
I'm thinking about the other guy.
Who's the other guy?
Let me see. I'm thinking about that. Let me see their roster because I'm thinking about somebody totally different. Jayshawn Tate is like a fucking throw-in.
Yeah, basically.
In a trade like that.
That's why we're comparing him to Larry Nance.
Well, I'm thinking about Tyree Eason. That's who I'm thinking about.
Yeah. That's what
what y'all talking about?
Jayshawn Tate like a friend.
My bad.
Yeah, this is kind of what I keep going back to, is that no one is giving you those type of players you want for Brandon Ingram. So this is what the deal would have to look like.
So then that's a good segue into this segment. I'll start with you first. Like, we were talking before the show started, and we've been talking about it, but throughout this whole process now, you're starting to see teams like not necessarily really interested, right, in Brandon Ingram. Do you think he actually gets traded?
I still lean toward no, because again, I go back to this notion of like, why would I believe that we're going to make that trade when David Griffin has done nothing in his time here to make me believe that he's capable of making that trade? Like, he hasn't been risky. He hasn't thought creatively. He hasn't he hasn't done any of that. So like, does that mean it won't happen? I don't know. I mean, he talks a lot. But I don't have anything, like, I don't have any faith in him being able to pull off like the type of deal that we're sort of discussing. So I don't know. I still would lean toward no. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't have any faith in the guy. I really don't have any faith in our like management.
Leo?
I'm so sorry. The couple days after Juneteenth, I got Tyree Eason and Jay Sean Tate confused. I'm sorry. All black people don't look alike. Nah. He not gonna be traded.
Like, you're like fully like, yeah. See, I disagree.
Here's my thing, and this is what I've come to grips with. This is the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is, I'm almost now like, yo, you probably, I understand, like, per the fit of the team, like we wanna move Brandon. I'm looking at the deals on the table for Brandon, like
exactly.
But
we talk about addition by subtraction. Look, I think Brandon's a good player.
Look at it that way. I agree with it. I 100% agree with what Lito's, like, the point he's making. I think at one point they wanted. I think when he made those comments, when David Griffin made the comment about changes, and then you heard some of the stuff, I think there was an actual thought of like, yeah, we're gonna move on from Brandon Ingram, all this other stuff. And now that you're seeing what it might look like, we all knew, like, you're probably going to have to lose it. How many times have we said you're going to probably lose in the greater basketball world? You're probably going to lose the Brandon Ingram trade, most likely. Well, now that I think they realize that, the likelihood that you actually get a deal done is for me drastically like going down. Because what is David Griffin going to stand on?
Nothing. You have to. Listen again. The reality is, you're probably better off even paying Brandon Ingram now. It's crazy how this shit is flipped in like 3 weeks. When you look at,
but how can you say that and look? How can you say that? But you see that Brandon and Zion clearly don't work. So how can you be like, you know what? Yeah, like, okay, we can't trade him, or we're not gonna get what we want from him. But I know we can't win with Zion and Brandon together. So then how can you possibly be like, well, let's still pay him money?
But are you speaking for yourself, Lito? Or are you speaking for?
I'm speaking for the team.
Yeah, you're thinking about the way that they would think about it.
Yes.
They're not gonna think about it like that.
So what do you mean that they don't?
They're not gonna admit that it doesn't work. They're gonna say 49. They're not. That's the thing. They're not gonna admit that. I think that's where I disagree.
Was it playing?
Yeah, I'm not speaking for me. And like you said, I'm not, like, it's not my point of view. I'm saying, if I'm looking at the Pelicans are gonna be like, I'm looking at the deals on the table. You saw Cleveland shut shit down. They want to keep their core together. You saw Atlanta. What's up, baby? You saw Atlanta shut shit down. Whoever else, like, who else?
Houston laughed at you.
Sengun.
I don't mean it. Because you need to come join the show. We're gonna put a stream on, because there was a tweet earlier today where he tagged me in it, and just for shits and giggles, I sent it to Chaz. They're like, they want to get Brandon Ingram. Like, what would it take? And someone said, yeah, give me pick number 5. I said, no, give me pick 5, Ivy and Jalen Duren. And I mean, they all fucking, like, I knew the reaction was going to happen, but they all were like, absolutely not. Like, for Brandon Ingram, they will not take 5, Jaden Ivey, and Jalen Duren.
So what is the deal? Go ahead. I'm sorry, Chris.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll be more inclined to believe all the things that I'm hearing right now, one way or another. You know, all the things that have been reported. I guess once we get closer to like the draft, I mean, we talking what Wednesday or Thursday. I don't know, man. We've been around long enough to know all the amount of posturing that goes on. One day you see, hey,
Ooh.
stop. What, right? One day you see, like Zach LaVine, I think is the perfect example. He's been linked to a team and then not linked to a team in the same day. And depending on who you talk to, they tell you something different about the interest for, say, a player. So do we know that there was any real even long conversations had, for example, about Sengun, right? Do we know that Cleveland has 100% closed the door on an option, or are they just saying that right now, with a different motive? A couple weeks ago, it was being talked about that Donovan Mitchell wasn't gonna be close to signing an extension. Now, I think it was a couple of days back that it was reported that Cleveland feels very strongly about their chance to signing him long term. I'm not believing really much of anything, even if it's something positive towards a Brandon Ingram trade, until we get real close and some moves starting. Like the moves that typically happen around this time anyway, you don't hear about it. You didn't hear about Caruso and Josh Giddey being in trade talks. It just happened. So whether it's Atlanta, whether it's Cleveland, get me closer to Wednesday, and then I think I feel comfortable with knowing what true direction that they're going with BI.
Chris, can I because I guess I don't disagree with you in one regard, but I think what I'm saying is I think it's the type of deal. Like is the front office going to be willing to make a what they might deem a low impact trade? Is in a trade just in and of itself, it may not move the needle a ton, right? Like Josh Giddey and Alex Caruso is pretty like uninspiring trade in the grand scheme of things, but both of those teams see value in it, right? Caruso brings like does a lot of things that Giddey doesn't do. In theory, Josh Giddey is sort of like for them maybe what Lonzo Ball was supposed to be before he got hurt. Like I can make sense of that in my head why both teams will want to do that. I think the reason I'm starting to lean toward Ingram might not get traded is because the feedback that it seems like we've heard lately matches like what we've thought from the jump, which is I'm not sure how much value he actually has around the league on an expiring deal. And it seems like there's less, like the more feedback you're getting, it's like, well, it really doesn't seem like there's that many teams that are really interested. And I understand you're saying like, yeah, that could just be posturing, but maybe it's not.
And look, that may be true. BI could be plan B, plan C, plan F for a bunch of different teams around the league, but you don't really know 100% until certain teams get desperate based off of whoever sets the market or the first real domino that falls. Let's say Paul George does something that we don't expect. Does the next team get desperate and say, all right, well, we got to make this move because we were hoping on Paul George, or we were hoping on Klay Thompson, or we just knew we were going to get Kyle Kuzma or Zach LaVine. And then someone calls it at the last minute and said, all right, we weren't really interested, but how can we really make this happen for BI? You just don't, to me, you just really don't know. I'm not saying that I believe he has great value anywhere right now, given his situation and maybe his particular play style. But I don't know if I'm letting the reports. Your point about the front office, I think, was more interesting because, and I would lean more to believe in that side of things because we aren't used to them taking clear losses, for example, right? They only, like in a trade as of recent, and y'all could correct me if I'm wrong, but in this era, the last trade that I can really think of to where everybody knew it was a loss out the gate was Lonzo. But at that point, everyone knew that that if you let him go, Chicago was going to, like, that's where you wanted to go. That's where everything was set up. Chicago clearly wanted him, but you didn't get anything, of substance. Could you see something like that? I mean, I don't know. Like what, from the front office's standpoint, they had to know that was a loss, but was it a situation where they just felt like they didn't have a choice? We got to get something for him, and this is it. I don't know.
I think you call the Devontae trade a loss too, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, the 4 second-round picks was insane. Yeah. Before we get to Chaz, make sure you smash the like button. Also, I see a bunch of comments. I'm starring them, so we do segments, so we will get to y'all's comments at the end of the show. Make sure you hit that bell notification to let you know we're going live. We go live every Sunday night, and also subscribe to the channel. I've messed that whole thing up. Chaz, do you think a trade, if you were to move Brandon Ingram, do you think it needs to happen before or during the NBA draft, or do you think his value drops even more after the NBA draft? If that makes sense.
I want to answer that, but I just wanted to play something really quick.
Okay.
You run the risk of that contract becoming a problem immediately. Going into the season, if there's a potential injury, if he underperforms, you may have yourself a Tobias Harris situation, whereas a guy, falls off the proverbial cliff after you extend him. Other teams are probably going to be side-eyeing that, and now you're probably due for what some people would consider an overpay. Also, in the event that he goes out this season and he plays like shit, his value is in the tank now. You missed the peak window to move him. Either you're going to be forced to retain him at a price that you're not exactly comfortable with paying.
All this was incredibly predictable. All of it was incredibly predictable. And before I get to your question, Justin, I was watching some stuff today on TV, and I just had an epiphany. You don't have to accept people as they are. That is a terrible adage. You don't have to, that's just who they are. No, it's okay to call someone a stupid motherfucker. I think a large, probably the majority of this fan base is a wolf pack of stupid motherfuckers, right? I think a good portion of the media, local media, is a cult of stupid motherfuckers, because there's no way in the world that this wasn't going to be predicted, that this was unpredictable, unforeseen. It's no way in the world that this was totally just unforeseen, right? So to answer your question and to kind of address something Ross said a little bit, I think the Pelicans have shifted from there's no buying, there's no selling Brandon Ingram at this point. There's no selling him. Now you have to shift to, what can I buy with him? What's out there for me to buy? What can I attach 3 picks to with? And this dumbass meth head out here keeps saying, no, don't sell low. Make them say no. Shut the fuck up, you doofusy bitch. Ain't no make them say no. Ain't no don't sell low. You're in hell. It don't get no lower. The only saving grace you got is that this motherfucker got 1 year left. Because if he had about 5-6 years left at a contract that was progressively getting more and more expensive, you couldn't give him away. You just saw what happened with Tobias Harris, who we'll talk about later. They tried to give him away for years. The Mavericks have been trying to give Tim Hardaway away for years. The Hawks been trying to give Capella away for years. Sometimes you're just not able to do it because you got the Pelicans been trying to give Larry away for 2 years. They tried to give JV away for 2 years. They've been trying to give Dyson away since he was announced 8th. You can't give some of these motherfuckers away. So now it's all about trying to see what you can package. I agree with Chris, and to answer your question, Justin, I think this is something that may linger to
what?
Maybe draft day.
Okay.
Maybe draft day or beyond, just because if you're talking, because the most important thing to factor in is that the Pelicans called Philadelphia, if you believe these reports. If you believe it. The Pelicans called Philadelphia. So if the Pelicans call Philadelphia, they probably look, take whatever picks you got, sign and trade Buddy Hield, sign and trade Brandon Ingram and Tobias Harris, and see if you can go get me something I really want, and I'll give you Brandon Ingram. That's probably what the conversation goes like in a situation like this, where a guy has no type of value whatsoever. Now, to Chris's point, it's a lot of posturing going on, ton of posturing. Though I think the Warriors would take a Brandon Ingram if they could get him for Andrew Wiggins and Chris Paul, something. If they can get him for garbage, why not? Maybe you're the problem. If I can get him for garbage,
trash, another man's treasure.
Yeah, but sometimes trash is trash. Because look, the Lakers trash was the Pelicans trash. The Lakers trash was the Pelicans trash. And that's the sad reality of it. And now you're looking for an avenue to move on. But even with the Cavaliers, that's not really their decision. if Rich Paul decides to make, he's making more noise than ever this offseason. If Rich Paul decides to make that an uncomfortable situation for Cleveland, Darius Garland got to go. You know what I'm saying? Ultimately, he's probably going to go. So now that's another potential person back into the trade fold. Yeah, man. In some of the teams that you already had a relationship with, and you probably got the foundation set up, that trade is always there. Like maybe if you had an agreement with the Hawks, or y'all have at least the foundation of a deal set up, that may always be there. But I really think it has more to do with, let me exhaust my resources on trying to buy first. Well, let me exhaust my resources on trying to sell. And if I can't sell, let me try to buy. What's available for me to buy? Brandon for Sagoon, that is a buy move. That is, if that's true, that's a buy move. That's not a sell move. You know what I'm saying? And I think the Pelicans will be hard pressed to find many scenarios in which they're trading the best player in the trade simply because of the availability issues, the play style issues, and the defensive issues. Because and the contract, the financial issues. That's a ridiculous contract. You know what I'm saying? Ridiculous contract. Then like
I'll have a center.
Like who realistically, Brandon has shown he can't play with talent. Can't play in FIBA, couldn't play in the regular season. Didn't really have much talent to play with in the postseason, but he just got shut down in the postseason. Couldn't play with LeBron and them. He can't play with talent. That's his shortcoming. So now you got to look at a team that's either desperate for relevance, throwing a Hail Mary, or a team that's like desperate for a championship and saying, man, we just need you to be the least worst version of yourself. If you could just be solid, we can make a run at this. And I don't know. I don't know if that's possible. And in closing, having the fucking having the postseason up by Paul George, bro, that is so just insane to me. Like, just this really reminds me of when the season was being held up by Robert Covington. They was like, who gonna trade for Robert Covington? He got
Covington.
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 Yeah.
Is it Covington?
No,
I think it's Covington.
Are you sure?
I don't know. And truthfully, that's how little it matters to me. That's how little it matters. But that's pretty much where we at now, man. I apologize.
Chaz, we got a
request.
Chaz, we got a request.
Play the anthem. Oh man, I wish this was a going away party.
Yeah.
Let them try it again. I'll be ready. Let them try it again.
I got a question. First of all, Chaz cold as hell. Chaz good at this shit.
Yeah,
I just needed to say that. Chaz, I got a question. I think I asked you this before, but I don't remember the answer. But is the moratorium on signing free agents, is that June 30th? Is that the date that teams can sign their free agents?
I think you can extend your own free agents now, if I'm not mistaken. You can sign your own free agents, if I'm not mistaken.
I got you. So look, I guess my question following up that is, like, do you believe this is to everybody or anybody who wants to answer?
Yeah.
You believe a deal would be done to trade Brandon on the draft or after the draft?
Lito,
it's gotta be on the draft.
It's June 30th.
June 30th. Okay, cool. I thought so.
June 30th. You can negotiate and extend offers until July 6th, which means, it can mean a bunch of different things. We might see deals that are talked, that are locked in, but the players still have until the 6th to decide. They can't officially sign until after that.
I think if you actually want, I think if you want an actual player that, like, from this draft, that'll be impactful to your team next year, where you can actually play them. Like, I think you have to trade them before or on draft night. Like, I keep seeing reports we're gonna get Missy or whatever his name is from Baylor at 21. Like, this dude ain't gonna play for 2 or 3 years.
You hate him.
He's awful. Yeah. I'm sorry. I hope he has a great NBA career. I don't want him whatsoever. we talk about this. Like, I'd rather literally trade the pick and just get second round picks and try to get like a bullshit center, like a Goga or whatever the fuck his name is. Get him. I don't need this dude. I don't need this dude. I've seen it, bro. I'm big on highlights. Like I like watching film a lot. I couldn't do a show on this dude because there's nothing to talk about.
You rejected my offer to do a show.
I did. I felt bad. I was like, hey man, like I didn't want to do it.
Boy, I've been there before.
I didn't want to waste my time doing film breakdown on this guy. He's a lot. We don't have a point guard to throw a lob. What? Yes.
Well,
I'd rather trade Jemison. I'm serious. I'd rather trade Jemison than this dude. Yeah, exactly. I'd rather Jemison.
Worker.
Yes.
I don't even want to ask you the question I was going to ask now because you just said that god awful name.
Jemison. Trade Jemison.
Chris's guy.
You'd rather
Chris's guy.
You'd rather a post office worker that does that's a bouncer at the local nightclub on weekends.
Let me ask you,
working at Metro.
Let me ask you, shout out Metro. Let me ask you this, Chris. Have you looked at Missy film? Or I'm sorry, is that how you pronounce his name? I don't want to be disrespectful.
That's cool. He's
Okay,
not important
Messi.
enough for us to.
Have you watched his film?
I looked a little bit. I looked at a little bit of the show.
What'd you think of it?
I mean, end of first round talent to me. Like I don't see the upside to where, but you know what though? He fits what they think that they need.
Exactly.
He's
exactly what?
Exactly.
Well, look, he's a nice kid. He's 21 years old, I believe, right? You know what I'm saying?
A hard worker.
You know, yeah, you know, and in the middle of of the first round, in the first round, I mean, he fits every single thing that this organization seems to want / like. Which
do you think he would play? Do you think he would get playing? Like we're gonna draft Missy, and he's gonna be slotted as our starting center. Like you're gonna have projected lineups. He's gonna have to because we don't have a center.
No, he wouldn't be the starting center. He wouldn't.
It's automatic. We don't have a center.
No, yeah, but they're gonna get a starting center, Justin.
Okay.
They're gonna get a Justin. They're gonna get a starting center. Teddy Roosevelt. Like, there's no way. There's no way that he's gonna be your starting center.
I don't see why you would draft this dude. Like, do you think this guy can develop into something?
To be fair, because I think the guy sucks too. But to be fair, like, what do you think you're gonna get at 21?
That's my thing.
This is
my thing. I'm not like, if these are the option, if Messi's an option, then I'm like, all right, let's just move back. Or it's like, okay, let's try to move up and try to get somebody that can be like.
You want to dip into the war chest.
So we dipped in the war chest for Josh Richardson. By the way, we dipped in for Josh.
You dipped
Richardson.
into like the secondary war chest, but yeah.
When have we?
Well, you dipped into the war chest to duck the tax.
That's my point. We've never dipped into that motherfucker. It doesn't exist.
I'd take a risk. I'd dip into the war chest for Edie. I would, if he was there like 15. Or, what do you mean?
I like Edie.
I like Edie.
To do what?
He's your starting center,
Play
Justin.
basketball.
Depends on what the goal is.
Sure.
He's your starting center.
Looking for a day one starter.
There is no day one starter at center in this draft.
Oh, that's not true.
Klingon?
Yeah.
That's the only dude?
Man.
Khalil Ware is not.
I'll say this. There's no day one starter on a good team or on a team that doesn't have the support. Like, if, for example, if Lively comes to the Pelicans, Lively probably look like shit. But Lively on Dallas, he looks really good. Like,
he's got two dudes in Kyrie and Luka that understand how to use.
I think Klingon, if you just told Klingon, like, hey, I just need you to go block some shots. Like, don't worry about nothing. I just want you to stand here and just do your thing. Like, I bet. I think he could be solid, but even him, like, man, and the Pelicans they just have been so incapable of coaching up like these guys. Like, I guess it's all about where you get drafted to. You know.
Wait, hold up.
Quick.
Chaz, Chris, Ross,
Justin.
I already asked you.
Oh, damn.
Will Brandon be, in your opinion, will he be traded on draft day or after? If there is a trade.
I say after.
After for me. I think like potentially well after.
See, that's a problem for me.
I think well after.
You want to scout like the prospects?
Well, Chaz, I think like if you once again, no one. I love how like the draft is. This is a bad draft. Like I get it, but like every draft is unpredictable. I mean, you've been saying that for years, Ross. But I think if you can get an actual impactful player plus some other assets, like that's why I go back to Detroit, Chaz. Like 5 for Jaden. I know people are down on Jaden, but he's 2 years in. He was really good at Purdue. Like I think there's something there. You can get a guy like Isaiah Stewart, maybe Vincent Beef Stew.
Oh,
like,
all right.
Vincent Beef Stew. Like I'd rather try to get up. Like I'd rather try to trade up. No. I corrected
Yo,
it.
he said the man name.
corrected.
He said the man name and then willingly just said the other name for no reason.
Hey, yo. Hey, yo. Hey, yo. Hey, yo. Hey, yo.
You right there.
To answer your question, Lito, I think it's either draft night or it happens way like we're talking mid-July after teams strike out on certain free agents and say, well, I guess they got to be Brandon Ingram. So it's either draft night and they figure this shit out then, and picks start moving and everything like that, and they're able to find out something they want. That includes like again, I'd be more interested in and I know Chaz has been putting out like 3 and 14 deals, stuff like that. I want to see more of those because that's the kind of deal that's going to have to happen like this. I don't believe it's going to be a 2-team deal for Brandon Ingram. However it happens, unless we are talking mid-July, however it happens, more than likely you're talking multiple teams involved, that kind of thing. But my prediction will be draft night. They find what they want. They either just take the L, or they gotta they have a concession stand. A concession plan.
Yeah.
Or it's mid-July. A concession stand is crazy.
You're looking at a fucking it's some chili cheese nachos and a bag of Doritos.
I'm gonna tell you what you're looking at.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
There you go.
There you go.
Like, hey, that's concession stand crazy. but not. Yo, another reason why. See, I agree with Chris, and here's the thing. Also, in the event that it does take you past July 1st, past the opening or start of free agency, you're really gonna have to expand the trade into multiple teams, because now, even if you moved Brandon and you created some cap space or whatever, now all the top tier free agents gone, or even like the mid-level like free agents are gone. So you gotta try to address multiple positions of need with this trade. For me, the most obvious partners seem like 3-team deal with Philly and Atlanta, and that depends on what happens with Paul George. You know what I'm saying? 3-team deal with Philly and Atlanta. I really don't think the Pistons are. I don't think they're much of an option at all, truthfully. Because in the event Clingan, let's say for example, Pistons got the 5th pick. If you don't get Duren in this trade, more than likely Clingan is going like top 4. He's probably not going to be there at 5, and he's probably the best center prospect in theory, right? So yeah, you would have to get a center back in that trade. So now you got this. In theory, you got this huge trade exception, and you're out looking for a point guard that another team's trying to get rid of, which could be Chris Paul. And when you think about it, because you're like, hey, Warriors, I got this. I don't know how much money Chris Paul making, but you're like, hey, I got this.
30 mil. No, it's like 30 mil, I think, on the number.
It's 30.
I think it's 30.
Don't he got an option?
It's like partially guaranteed. Yeah. Like it's. I don't think he has an option. I think it's partially guaranteed for this year.
Yeah, they gotta push the date back, because if they don't push the date back, it becomes non-guaranteed.
We gotta get to the next what?
No, I just wanted to add on to that. I know we keep saying one more thing.
Yeah, one more thing.
Is that the reason I think it goes into the offseason, maybe even into the season, maybe even doesn't get done, is because I agree with everything you're saying, and I don't believe that David Griffin has the skills to get a 3 or 14 deal done. I don't have anything to base that on.
You know what, Ross? That seemed like his specialty, though. Like,
Really?
the more like you look at the Steven Adams deal, when he brought back JV and he gave them that fake first, and he was able to get Trey or pick 13 at the time, or how creative he was able to get with the CJ deal. It's like the more Griff's expertise lies in falling in style. Like I said this about Brandon before, like even when motherfucker, like he's on a hell of a run. It's like, no, he's not flying. He's falling in style. Like on like Toy Story. Griff will make the most impressive, complicated trade around some insignificant shit you've ever seen. To me, it's when it comes to him doing the big deals.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
It's when it gets like, what the fuck are you doing?
I'm not
like,
talking about creative giveaways. I understand what you're saying.
All right, I gotta get to the segment.
What do you got?
Because I have like fucking 6 other segments we have to get to. We got tweet of the weeks. I got fucking super chats. I got a lot of shit to deal with here. Okay. All right.
Sweet.
Justin, all right?
He's under the
Justin.
Damn.
Justin, you all right?
I'm good, bro. Quality. We're gonna answer this question at the end of the show. Say the pals appreciate the super chat. We'll answer this. Everyone's so like, why Carlos just his name just keeps coming up and just whatever. We'll talk about it in at the end of the show. Presented by Company Burger. Okay, 4600 Ferret Street. Lita, I want to talk about Naji Marshall. Shout out Naji.
Shout out
Naji, man.
He's going to get paid and he deserves it. And I'm glad for him. I'm happy for him. He's not going to return back to the Pelicans. So today, we've been knowing this, but today came out reports saying that we're preparing Pelicans. I'm sorry, not we. Pelicans are preparing to lose Naji Marshall in free agency as a strong market is expected to be the versatile wing. Teams with cap space such as Detroit, Philadelphia, and San Antonio are strong contenders. First and foremost, shout out Naji, undrafted, works his ass off, good dude. You know, that guy was always ready to play. He started a lot of games, came off the bench. Nothing but good things to say about Naji. So I kind of wanted to talk about him a little bit, just highlight, you know, his 4 years here in New Orleans. Is that right?
Yeah, 4 years.
4 years in New Orleans with
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, man, go for it. God bless. Go get the bag, dog. Don't even worry about nothing that's going on here, man. You deserve to go get that paper, man. I'm proud of the progress that, you know what I'm saying, I've seen Naji develop into a complete, you know, role play, a player in his role. He did whatever was asked of him. Like they put Naji in spots where he was playing well above his play level. And he did what he had to do. He played defense. He worked on his jumper. You saw it shoot a career high this offseason. He told you. He told you. Yeah. We sat down. We talked. He told me what he did that summer. He said I shot more shots. I put in more time in my 3-point game than I have ever had in the past, and it showed. Like Chris always said, the work goes show. You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the things that I feel like I'm proud to see Naji go and get paid.
Yeah, Chris, go ahead.
Well, first, I don't want Lito quoting me ever again. Just don't. Just don't quote me. Use your own quotes. You know what I mean? We do shows together. You know, let me say that. Don't say what I say.
Hey, hold on. Quote unquote.
Respectfully. There we go. I like that. That's the one.
Yeah.
Naji is an example of things we don't often see with the Pelicans, and that's you know, somebody who's made the most out of their God-given talent. Like no matter, you know, Naji was not given amazing jumping ability. He wasn't given great lateral quickness. He wasn't, you know, he ain't 7 feet. He wasn't even, you know, he ain't the most balanced dude. You know, he can be a little clumsy with the basketball sometimes. But Naji said, all right, this is what God gave me. I'm gonna put the work in to make, you know, to be the best that I can be. You can only do that by having the right mental and really sitting down and being honest with yourself about what you need to do to stay around and to get that, you know, that next contract or, you know, the contract after that. And, you know, sure, maybe there was some failures or some accidents, that ended up happening to even give Naji an opportunity, but he didn't care. He could have, we've seen people giving that opportunity and, give it, they give it back. Yeah.
We got the
There we go.
Oh,
There we go. There we go, Naji. You know what I'm saying? So Naji made the most. Naji made he made the most out of what God gave him, and we seen it. We got a chance to see that, from day one. And regardless of what happens next, man, I think me and Chaz did a show in the offseason about all they got to do.
Corner three.
We say 36, 37% in the corner, from the corner. Yep. He went ahead, and media day, sat down with, Pro Plus Talk, told Lito that he was having the best shooting summer of his life, and it worked and it showed on the floor. So whether he goes somewhere else or, he's back in New Orleans, man, can't wish him nothing but the best, man. Because that's a story people dream about,
Yo, Naji, if that's really you in the chat, don't fall for that family shit, brother. Like, oh man, you just it was great when we were all together. Nah, fuck that. Pay me. Fuck that.
Go get your money, dog.
Tell him sock it to my pocket. Tell him sock it to my pocket. Fuck all that.
Are we quoting finesse 2 times in here? Is that what I hear? Is that
I don't know. I heard that somewhere. I heard that from an old pimp when I was spending time in Memphis.
I'm about to say that's been in Memphis.
Hey. The pimp said something else. He said, "Nah, you gotta tell him purse first, answers last." I was like, "Oh, I wasn't ready for that level of game." But nah, fuck all that. Nah, tell him pay me. Out there consistent. Yo, Naji hit on my parlay one time, dog. It was against the Nets. Brandon was out with the toe injury, and we was at home, and Naji hit like 4 threes in the first half. I had bet on to hit 2. Go get paid. Go get paid. Don't fall for the okie doke.
Shout out Naji.
Shout out to Naji, man.
Shout out to Naji, man.
So let's talk about. So we saw some interesting comments around Tobias Harris. Leo, I'm gonna start with you first. So allegedly, I don't know. The Pelicans are interested in Tobias Harris. A lot of people had some thoughts about that. Leo and Ross.
What's happening?
Oh, you just okay. I thought I might have said something. I don't know. Fuck.
Have some of this elixir.
Do you like the idea of Tobias Harris?
I'm gonna tell you what I told you when I walked into the studio today.
The worst Pelican of all time. Oh,
that was the first thing.
That was actually
to be fair. The first thing.
I'm sorry. The second thing I said.
The
second thing I said was he shot 268 threes, and he made 91 of them.
Is that good?
That sound good?
I don't know.
258.
258. What's 10 more though? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Did you really just say that, bro? You really just said that?
In this heat?
Yo, look, for real. I saw somebody saying, you rather pay Naji, you rather pay Tobias X amount of money versus paying Brandon. Dog, listen, we talked about you didn't want to do a show. Hey, dog, me and Chris yesterday, yesterday, swear to God, we were supposed to do a show.
Yeah. And
I asked Chris, I said, does this make sense? He asked me some questions in return. And I was like,
true story.
Oh, the drop off
true story
from Naji to Brandon, and I know people not go like this, would be
Tobias.
Tobias to Brandon would be insane, dog. It was crazy. Like Tobias Harris scored 9 points in the playoff series just recently. Like he just scored 9 points in the playoff series. There's no I couldn't even talk myself into the idea of Tobias Harris.
Okay. While we're on the topic, we actually have 2 tweets of the week. I gotta play between you and Chris. You and Chris did a show this week, and it was fascinating. It was an absolute. I don't know, Ross. Obviously, y'all have all seen it. I want everyone else to see this. If you haven't seen it, so Chris and Lito did a show, and we get in the comment section. We have to settle this debate. Do you move up or down a list when heading for a number 1 ranking presented by Standard Mortgage? I'm going to play the clip. It is it's a minute and a half. I recommend y'all listen to this.
They had Zion ranked at 33. So technically, he moved up 5 spots.
4.
Yeah. Move back. I'm sorry, move back 5 spots. I'm tripping.
If they got you at 33, you move up 29, you move up, huh?
No, you move down the list. He started at 33. They had him as the 33rd. He moved basically like he played well enough where he lowered his. Am I tripping?
Well, no, because if I say you the 33rd best, and then I say you the 29th best, you went up the list.
28.
20. Okay, so it is 5. See, so I'm tripping too. But that means you climbed up the list.
No, because so on the list, the lower you ranked, the better you are.
What?
If you number 1 on the list, you better than the 33rd guy.
Right. So if you the 28th, you better than the 33rd guy.
That's what I'm saying. They had him.
But you
they had him ranked at 33. He worked himself into the 28th spot.
But you said he moved down on the list.
Yeah, technically you moved down on the. Why is it so difficult?
Nigga, how?
To me, it's moving up the list. To me,
these are golf rules. You move up the leaderboard.
Move up the leaderboard.
Yeah. So if you're in 10th place,
yeah,
and you go birdie, 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 and now you're in
something
second
you'll
place,
never do.
You have moved up the leaderboard. I carried you to a first place finish in a golf event. Less than a month.
That,
no less than 1 month
ago. I carried your ass.
You did.
That was fucking crazy. That was.
Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo.
Just fucking.
But in any case, you move up the leaderboard.
You move up.
You move up. This is not a debate.
I'm with Chris.
This is not a debate. Lito is just dead wrong.
It's like the iron sharpens iron thing. You were completely wrong about that saying. Yeah, bro. Literally everybody
still
is iron.
Still.
No, it's
He right about that. He right about that, Justin.
Beanie Siegel said.
Once you see someone clapping, you know you got like he's in his feelings. He's upset.
Are you telling me you better than Beanie Siegel?
It's iron sharpens iron. Literally, that's the saying.
You ever been to Philadelphia?
Huh? Have I been to Philly?
Yeah.
One night. It was great. Had a good time. Fantastic.
I'm sorry, I asked. Never mind. That was my fault.
All right, let's get back to Tobias Harris. Chris, what are your thoughts on we'll go Chris Ross and Chaz. What are your thoughts on Tobias?
So look, if we are accepting that you are going to take a loss, you can do a lot worse than a deal involving Tobias Harris, and whatever else comes with it, right? Like, I think they're different in how they attack, how they score, how they impact the game. But I mean, look, you gotta look at it like this. If you get Tobias, you're getting them at a fraction of the price that you would have to pay Brandon. And if you're getting similar production, no matter how it arrives, is it an equal trade-off? I don't think so. But we've been talking for the past few weeks now about how you're not getting an equal trade-off. So if you get a guy who is, even at this stage, I think he's 31, 32 years old, motivated, by the way, with something to prove, 18 points, I think 18, 19 points per game. And that's, we're talking as a third, fourth option, some nights, depending on what Philly had out there. You get a guy that's been, that's been around, that has been in playoff series, that's been asked to do, to be a part of winning games. No, he's not going to be the second best player on your team. He can't even at his best replicate what Brandon did to win you a couple playoff games, but that's not what this is about. This is about the situation that you're in with Brandon Ingram. So if you're telling me that's the best that's on the board and I can re-sign him at a fraction of the cost and still, kind of pivot that way, I think you can do a lot worse.
Yeah, Ross.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I go back to Chaz's line about what's the goal? I mean, is Tobias Harris a fine NBA player? Sure, but I think I don't know why we would want unless you're talking about, and Chris said a fraction of the cost. I think what makes me nervous is that in order for you to acquire Tobias Harris, you're talking about a sign and trade situation. I don't know why Tobias Harris would agree to any sign and trade situation unless he was getting at or above market, especially to come to New Orleans, not a championship contender, things like that. So I don't see how this works because I think paying Tobias Harris, overpaying for Tobias Harris, I think is an absolute disaster. Because one, I don't want him taking any Trey Murphy minutes. I think that defeats the entire purpose of trading Brandon Ingram to bring in a Tobias Harris type player that's going to maybe ultimately steal some of Trey's minutes, especially if there's a salary associated with him that's going to require that he play a lot. Yeah, I mean, if this was, I'm trying to come up with a scenario. I guess if this was a Gordon Hayward scenario where he's a free agent this summer and it's shit, man, I don't know, things went so bad for Gordon Hayward last year. Maybe you could sign him for just super cheap, the mid-level exception or a piece of the mid-level exception, some kind of small, if that's the conversation we were having for Tobias Harris, hey, I'm all for that. But that's not the conversation we're having. We're talking about him being a part of a sign and trade that would involve other things. And I don't know why Tobias Harris would agree to that in the absence of him getting paid a reasonable amount of a very reasonable amount of money, or him going somewhere that he really wants to go. I don't think either of those things exist in New Orleans. So I'm really long-winded way of saying I don't want Tobias Harris anywhere near.
Could just say that. Go ahead, Chaz.
So,
sorry, Chris. Go ahead. No, Chris.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was looking. I guess I was trying to see what Harrison Barnes' contract situation set up because it seems like all these different deals. You're talking about Harrison Barnes, Andrew Wiggins, Tobias Harris. It's all, they're all the same kind of player one way or another, the same kind of situation. What's happening here?
Sorry.
I was trying to fix my.
Go back to what it would look like so Chris can see what you look like.
Nah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Nah.
Why is that crazy? Sorry.
So my question was to Ross though, does the situation change if we're talking Harrison Barnes for you, mainly because I think Harrison has one more year on his contract after this, or, and Andrew Wiggins, do you like those players as fill-ins? Do you like their game a little bit better than say a Tobias Harris type of situation? Or are you just strictly because you have to re-sign Tobias and you may have to give him a little bit of money? You know what I mean? What's the trade-off here in regards to other options?
Yeah, I got you alive.
I don't.
And you're alive.
So I think Harrison Barnes is 3 years and $55 million. You got 2 years left on that, and that's kind of what I mean. Is I guess if you were talking about a situation where you had maybe Tobias Harris was going to sign a 2-year, $30 million deal. Well, I probably don't balk at that. Okay, fine. Because it's the expectations that come with signing a 2-year, $30 million deal. That's a movable salary. That's a useful player, 6-man, whatever. That makes perfect sense to me. But but it's the scenario that we're talking about to acquire him would have to be involved in this sign and trade. Why would he sacrifice his freedom to choose where he wants to go, whether it's the more money, whether it's location, something like that, for a sign and trade to New Orleans, unless we were willing to overpay? So I guess
I got you.
That half answers the question. The other part is, I probably like Harrison Barnes better. I don't have the numbers in front of me. My gut tells me Harrison Barnes is a better set shooter, and I think he's a much better defender. So I would prefer Harrison Barnes in that situation. But yeah, I think it's just the situation where we would have to acquire Tobias Harris that turns me off.
He scored 9 points in the playoff series.
So did Brandon Ingram. Who cares?
Yeah,
I care.
But what are you? That's what I'm saying. But you're not trading for Tobias Harris to replace Brandon Ingram. That's what I don't like. You're even though those two people are involved in the same trade, you're in theory restructuring your roster around Zion Williamson's skill set. I don't want to bring in another Brandon Ingram. That for me defeats the entire. Like, I want him gone, not because I think Brandon's a terrible player or anything. I hate the way he plays. The way he plays does not match with the way we should be playing or with Zion Williamson on the roster. So I don't want to bring in anyone that can mimic him. Like, I'm trying to change the roster. That's part of the reason, like, Tobias Harris is kind of an isolation scorer. That's part of why I don't really want him in the first place. But, like,
even if he's off the bench, because in this equation, he would be off the bench and Trey Murphy would start. Like, right. I don't think you're trading for Tobias to start.
No, I don't either. Unless you do it, unless it's a sign and trade where he's getting 3 years, $75 million or something like that. Then there's going to have these questions. He's going to have to play. It's just like, it's an unnecessary use of money. We've spent all this time talking about how we don't have a center on the roster. We spent all this time talking about how we need a guard that, like, a playmaking guard that can like do stuff that we don't currently have on the roster. Why on earth would you commit any resources to a Tobias Harris? It's not. Again, it has nothing to do with Tobias Harris as a player. Perfectly fine player. We just don't need it. Like, he's just not a skill. He's a skill set you already have.
I think, but my point is this. So, like, we talked about his threes. He only made like 4 more threes than Brandon. And
yeah,
if that's the situation, like, why would I enable myself to basically go through the same thing again with the same type of player?
Because Brandon Ingram won't be, like, playing basketball for the Pelicans. The way, like, what do you dislike most about Brandon? The way he plays basketball.
Yeah.
Doesn't make others better. Doesn't fit with Zion Williamson. So
I don't know about that. If he doesn't make anyone better, I would disagree with that.
Who's he make better then?
I thought if we're doing 3 years ago, I thought he made the team better when
3 years ago.
Jesus Christ, Justin.
I thought he was really good, like a really good facilitator this year. I wouldn't say he didn't make anyone better.
He's a better facilitator than
he's the best facilitator on the team. Facilitator on the team.
Brandon Ingram's best facilitator on the team.
Yeah. How do you define facilitator? Because Zion Williamson just drives and kicks. I'm talking about PNR.
Is that not facilitating?
As Chaz loves to say, I feel like there's levels to that.
Exactly.
Like,
And I don't think Brandon is a very good level of it. That's kind of my point. Like, I don't think, like,
I think Brandon Ingram
you want to run the offense. You want to run the offense through Brandon Ingram again? What? I don't understand. What are we talking about? Why are we backtracking on this?
I'm not backtracking on anything. I'm just saying that Brandon Ingram can score in more ways than Zion Williamson can. And that's I'm thinking, okay, can you run a pin down for Zion Williamson? Can you run?
Does Justin want to re-sign Brandon Ingram?
No, I don't. I'm just going off of your comment that didn't make anyone better.
Yeah,
I don't think he makes a single player on our roster better. I don't think he.
That's ridiculous.
I don't think he makes. You're saying, well, I thought he made the team better at some point. Whatever. Like, last year, what did he do to make
didn't he average a career high in assists last year?
To make anyone else better, you can average assists, dude. You can pick up counting stats. He dribbles the shit out of the ball. Anyone can pick up a shitload of counting stats. This is my problem with Trae Young. Trae Young, I think, picks up a shitload of counting stats because he has the ball the entire possession. He gets a ton of assists. He takes a ton of shots. There's a million players. If you have the ball that much, of course. We've ad nauseum talked about how his play style doesn't fit in either the current NBA or with your superstar. And now here we are talking about how he's the best facilitator we have on the roster and how he can score in a variety of ways. Well, then what the hell are we doing if that's what you really believe? I mean,
I'm just saying I'm literally just going off of the fucking comment you said that he didn't get anyone better.
I don't think he makes anyone better.
Okay.
I don't.
That's your opinion.
I think he makes himself better.
Okay. That's your opinion.
Let Justin speak.
No, I mean, I just like, I to say he doesn't make anyone better. He's not a shitty player. He's a good basketball player. Brandon's a good basketball player.
I think
it's just him and Zion don't work together.
Yeah, I don't think he's.
But to say he doesn't make anyone, but to say that he doesn't make anyone better, I think is.
I don't know who he makes better. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Who? Like, I'm asking for an actual player, not some like.
So you don't think that you don't think CJ and Trey were a good trio, or CJ and Jonas would be a good trio? Like, I could look at advanced stats. I could look
in terms of what?
I could look at advanced stats right now and tell you those three probably had positive minutes. Like Brandon, CJ, and Jonas, or Brandon, CJ, and Trey probably had positive minutes with them three together.
Would you rather that long term?
No. I would pick. We have to choose one. But I'm going off of your comments saying he doesn't make anyone better. I think I don't agree. Yes.
Agree to disagree. I mean, I don't know what else we can say. I've watched enough basketball to where I'm not saying like, I don't feel good about saying, yeah, let's keep running the offense through Brandon. He's going to make others around him better. He's going to make others improve.
This guy's killing me. Hold on, I gotta pull this comment up. You do not know hoops. I guess I don't know hoops. I mean, I'm just disagreeing. I'm just disagreeing with Ross's comments.
That's
Middle
what middle dude.
Middle dude. Just call me middle dude. Shout out to you, Habuff, whatever you want to say.
Excuse me?
Who beef? Chaz, what are your thoughts on Tobias? Then we'll get into
I think it depends on the role. I think something like 2 years, 40 million. That's probably about market value, if not above market value for Tobias at this stage. Again, a guy his reputation has been in the mud for years now, probably a bit more so than Brandon. The only difference with him is that he's 31 and Brandon's 26. I went and I looked at Tobias's stats when he was 26, and I ain't gonna lie, dog. Tobias and Brandon are eerily similar players. For example, let's say Tobias averaged 9 points in the playoffs. He's 5 years older than Brandon, who averaged 14. So it's like, and Tobias the third option, Brandon's the number one option. So to me, it's like both, two wings on a plane that's crashing and burning. And I think
That's crazy.
for me, I don't take issue with a Tobias coming off the bench because, like I said, we just spoke about Naji leaving. Dyson is the worst player I've ever seen in my life. EJ Liddell appears to be like a wasted pick. Carlo, he might be going back to Vietnam or whatever, the Soviet Union. So it's like you need talent off the bench. Even and if you saw a similar situation with Julius Randle at one point, where it's like, hey, come here, you could be our star off the bench, and you can repair your value and go back out into the free agent market or go somewhere else and you get paid. Also, you need tradable contracts. If you're the Pelicans, let's totally hypothetical. Well, let's say if you're the Pelicans, you say, hey, I'll give you Brandon and Larry for 3 firsts and Tobias. You still have a pretty large TPE, trade player exception. You brought back a guy, and now you have more assets that you can go out and still go hunt. And you have a $20 million, potentially $20 million expiring contract or 2-year short-term contract and a guy like Tobias you can couple with CJ. To me, that would be the thinking ahead move. Because when I look at what Malik Monk was able to get, I don't think anyone's going to pay Tobias over $20 million on the open market. If $20 million happens to be the overpay, like to Malik, he's only going to touch $20 million in like his 3rd or 4th year. So if $20 million is the overpay for Tobias Harris, I think you do that. You just average 17. What did he average? 17, 17, 6 and 3, 1 steal, almost a block, 1 turnover, and this has been a really down year for him. About the same number of 3-point attempts.
Do you think in a sign and trade scenario he would accept, like, because basically you're talking about the exact same deal Harrison Barnes signed, like 3 years, $55 million. Do you think Tobias Harris would accept 3 years, $55 million in a sign and trade to New Orleans? When in theory he could probably get that or more from other teams on the open market, or could take a below market deal with a team he thinks he could win a championship. I think that's where I might be disagreeing with you.
I think so, because if you look at the teams who are above the second apron, who pretty much have like minimum salaries to offer, like the Kings not paying Tobias anything over the minimum. Celtics ain't paying Tobias anything over the minimum. Some of those teams don't even have access to that mid-level exception. So if you were like even a team like even Denver, all the good teams, the true contenders, they're about around that second apron where they don't really have many avenues to add a guy like Tobias. And Tobias, I'm telling you, him and Brandon got the same disillusions. Tobias think he good. So he gonna be like, he's got
something to prove, right? What did he say? He's got something to prove.
That's what we laughed about. That.
He told his agent he's got something to prove.
Chris said he was like, he got something to prove earlier. And was like, we were laughing about that earlier because I'm like, I don't really want a player who feels like they have something to like an aging player that feels like he has something to prove. To me, is a red flag.
It's like, if you gotta prove something, like, nah.
God damn, he's 31. If he 30, like that's aging.
He's got mileage. How many years has he been in the NBA?
He's been in the league about what,
I feel like
11, 12 years.
Yeah, he was one of those like super young guys that came out of Tennessee or wherever.
But I think even if, let's say he comes here and he has a meh year off the bench, let's say he averages 14 points. That's still your best. That's still absolutely your best player off the bench.
Because Chaz, you're going to need scoring off the bench when Trey Murphy is in the starting lineup. So
or
really
take into account Zion gets hurt again or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna need. And the Pelicans, they tend to go towards like those larger wing players, larger backcourt players. Like they like guys with like wingspans and stuff like that. So Tobias would make sense. Tobias isn't a terrible player. Tobias just, again, a guy who's miscast as a second or third star. That's never been who he was. Like, and it's the peer group makes him look terrible. The fact that you passed up on Jimmy Butler makes him look even worse. And then when you see what happened to him in the playoffs, that's a man who's broken mentally. So you're pretty much trading an older guy who's broken mentally for a younger guy who's broken mentally. But the only difference is the older guy, the younger guy isn't worth $30 more million than the older guy. And you know, that's the real issue here. That's like, I don't give a fuck how bad Tobias Harris is in like public, like, you know, in the national media, like mind state, but it's like Brandon Ingram not worth $30 million a year, but more than Tobias Harris. And that's, to me, if I'm the Pelicans, that has to be my line of thinking. Like, you know, in theory.
Do you not? I guess I could just see myself. I could see us in 4 months. Like, let's just say this deal happens the way we're saying it could happen. I could just see us in 5 months being like, damn, 2.5 more years of Tobias Harris. But, you know, maybe we could trade him. It's like, it feels like doing that deal is the epitome of like, yeah, we're just, you're doing that to set up whatever the net. Like,
and I honestly think too, Ross, he would advocate for a shorter deal as well, because he's a durable guy, plays like fucking 70 plus games a year. Like, he ain't an injury person. And a person like that, like a guy who's like used to making big money, he gonna want to be a free agent again soon. Especially with like the way the cap is going. So if he can like, all right, my market is in the dumps. Let me take this easy 20 million right here for now. Next year, they probably gonna trade me, or at the deadline, they probably gonna trade me any fucking way. He go out and he's a finalist for fucking 6th man of the year, something crazy like that. Like if he has a Malik Monk career arc, then he back on the open market at 32 years old, maybe 33. And teams like, yo, we need a guy like that, a spark plug and a Tobias Harris. Like, to me, it would make sense if it's Brandon and Larry, because you still got a large trade player exception coming back.
All right, so let's we're gonna take a minute break. Let's hear from Crystal Hot Sauce. Make sure you smash the like button. About 230 people in the room right now. Appreciate it on a Sunday night. So what we're gonna do next is answer your questions. So if you have any questions, I've started a bunch, but if you have any questions, drop in the comments section. Let's hear from Crystal Hot.
I need to clear something up about New Orleans. While our culinary scene might be on fire, our food has never been about heat. It's always been about flavor. And this is how New Orleans does flavor. Are we clear? Crystal, how New Orleans does flavor.
Hey, Justin, shout out Crystal. How do you say this?
Worcestershire sauce.
Say it one more time.
Worcestershire sauce.
Okay.
What's going on?
How do you say it?
What I'm saying, why are you saying it like that though?
I have a speech impediment, but that's fine. But like,
that's my bad. I didn't mean to like put
it's okay. No, I'm not.
You're not making me
I'm
feel
not
bad.
embarrassed. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, how do you say it?
Just a little better than that.
Say it. I would like to hear it.
Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire sauce. That's why the Goga thing fucking puts me in the chamber. All right, so
Wait, it puts you where? Where does it put you?
Chamber. Okay.
Hey yo. Hey yo. Hey yo. Hey yo. Hey yo.
You know, I didn't used to drink before this show, but let's go ahead.
Chaz, we'll start with you. Tyus Jones, please.
Hey, man, if possible, if you can create some salary cap space, you could offer a guy like Tyus Jones starting slot. I think it'll be a great decision for me. I don't worry too much about the CJ Tyus Jones backcourt because I've seen small backcourts succeed. Like I have seen that. And if you're the Pelicans, you've been leaning so much toward defense. You still haven't accomplished it. So it's like I love to say, "Oh, you're fucking her now?" No. If you go shoot your stick at her, will you be fucking her then? No. You ain't got nothing to lose. Go get the talent and let's see where this goes.
Okay. Lito from Kyle. Speaking of Frank, y'all remember Frank Jackson? That pick pissed me off.
Yeah, Frank the Mormon. I remember Frank.
Is
he
really?
still in the league? Is he still in the league?
Frank Jackson now.
Is he really a Mormon?
Yeah, he's Mormon.
Damn.
Oh shit.
No comment.
Everybody got quiet.
Yeah. Okay.
Damn,
Frank Jackson is not still in the NBA.
No way. Okay. Back to you, Leo. I would hate a Tobias trade, but I would rather give Tobias 30 mil than give BI 50 mil for the same production.
I hate that y'all about to make me defend. Y'all about to.
It's not y'all. It's me. It's not. Don't blame Ross. Don't blame anything. It's me.
This is look. It's not the same production. That's the only point I'm gonna make.
It's not.
It's not the same production.
It's not the same production. Okay. Chaz, Tyus Jones / TJ McConnell. Chaz.
Tyus Jones. You always go with the talent. We got a TJ McConnell on the roster. His name is Dyson Daniels. Y'all thought I was about to call y'all thought I was about to call this guy TJ. Nah, brother. Nah, brother.
In.
Chris, Nick Claxton.
I don't want to pay. I don't want to pay Nick Claxton that amount of money.
No.
I mean, just based off of even like last season, and the only thing I could maybe say is that the Nets period just looked deflated after a certain part of time. But watching Day'Ron Sharpe take away minutes and look more playable than Nick Claxton, he's also a terrible free throw shooter. I think the idea of what he can provide when we're talking about rim protection and stuff like that would fit. But do you really want to invest that kind of money in the center position? Because if it fails, then that's a large bill to fail on again at the center position. I think they're better off. They've invested some type of money into Jonas in the past. They traded assets to get Steven Adams. They traded, they did a sign and trade with Derek Favors. They drafted Jackson Hayes. Now is the perfect time for them to work more on getting a certain type of skill level, a skill or a prototype, like we were talking with Bataze or something like that, and pay a small amount of money. Go that route. Pay the other money. If you're gonna pay big time dollars, do that at the guard position. Do that at the wing position, places that are actually changing games in this league. Focus more on getting either just a low money stretch five or a low money rim protector that way. Like, do that versus like you've seen this, maybe not to Claxton's level, but you've seen this already. I think it will be a mistake.
Truthfully, I would love the idea of getting Colin Sexton and Kessler. I keep messing up this man's name.
Walker,
is it Kessler Walker?
Walker.
Yeah,
Kessler.
Walker Kessler. Him.
Oh,
I would
Kessler.
like that. Yeah, K Dub or Dub K, whatever. Him. I keep messing up his name. But that guy, man, I'm telling you, even with his form in the 3-point shooting, I'm like, yo, he looked like he could be a solid below average like shooter from behind arc. His rim defense goes without saying. I mean, fuck. Pelicans have lost to the Jazz, if I'm not mistaken. What?
They've been swept back-to-back years in Utah.
5 or 6 times. So yeah. I think a guy like that and Colin Sexton, true dog. Even if I was just getting those two in the trade, I think Phoenix has like Utah has like pick
22.
20.
Oh yeah, Phoenix.
Yeah, so if I could get Colin Sexton, K Dub or Dub K.
No,
Chaz.
You can't. Wait. That's a whole different. That's a segment after the fan question. We're about to.
Oh shit! I didn't even know this was still the
that's why I text you, Chris. I know. I can't jump the gun.
I was gonna say, you just going off what Chad said about Utah. Like I agree. First of all,
are you about to talk about Utah trade?
Oh, all right. Never
All
mind.
right, hold on.
Hey, my bad. I brought up the Mormons, and then Utah came up. And then,
Hey, Don, I'm gonna answer this one. I'd rather you over Missy. Like it's not even close. Like the Khalil Ware is way better than Missy. Like I don't want Missy whatsoever in this city.
He's in the city.
I'm telling you, go look at his film. Go look at his film. I've never seen a highlight video. I've never seen a highlight
He
video.
can't even play rec ball.
Boring,
We don't know
bro.
who the man is, but he also just said he
can I answer this one?
I'll take Don or Joe. Is it Joe from UNO? What's his name?
Frank.
Joe. Yeah, Frank.
Frank from
Justin
UNO?
said a no-fly zone for Missy.
I don't want Missy. I'm telling you right now. We're going live Wednesday night for the draft. If we draft Missy, like we're not doing no post game. Like
Prepare thyself.
Nah. Lito, do y'all think Ingram can bounce back mentally to even be useful for the Pels moving forward? I don't.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
Shout out to you, Dylan.
What's up, Dylan? Yeah, I do. I think, especially because he gonna be on the team next year. I do, and I think he need to.
Is that all you wanted to say? And you wanted to elaborate a little bit or no?
About which part? I've been saying this for like the whole summer now.
Okay.
Stamp it. Yeah.
Why did you disagree, Ross?
With the comment, with the question?
Yeah.
Because at the end he says whatever, like I don't. Of course, like, yeah, of course he can bounce, but like he's not like bounce back from the playoff series. Of course, I mean, in theory, he's gonna be healthier to start next year. Like he's not gonna be that bad. Like that was the absolute very worst version of Brandon Ingram. Like even if you don't like the way he plays, and I don't, even if you don't think he fits with the roster, and I kind of don't, like, of course he's going to bounce back from the Oklahoma City Thunder series. Like he's not that bad. I mean, it's just an unreasonable statement, I think.
Okay.
I want to add this real quick, Justin.
I gambled on you, and you gambled on a crackhead.
Chris. Chris, CJ.
No.
Is that the answer?
No. No.
It's all good.
Oh, bad. No. Okay.
No.
Ooh. Oh, wait. Hold up, Chaz. Don't answer that. Can we get Jabari in 3?
You said you want to answer that, Justin?
What would it take? Oh, no. Hold up. Like, what do you think it would take?
Brandon and Herb. And honestly, I'd do it. Brandon and Herb. If you can get Jabari in 3, I'd do it. Trade a like crazy fucking trade exception. You're talking about over 40. What you talking about? $48 million trade exception. Damn. Yeah, I'd do that if I didn't want to take nothing back because
I agree.
I don't think they would do Jabari in 3. I wouldn't if I were them.
I've been big on Jabari since Auburn.
I wouldn't do Jabari in 3. I think this is one of those like again. I think they probably hung up real quick on the Şengün deal. I think they'd hang up even quicker on that.
It just depends on what they plan on doing or what they. It depends because let's say if you can't get 3, but Jabari's on the table with some other asset. If they plan on taking Klingon, I think Jabari was out of here because they got to consolidate at some point. And you got Tyree Eason who plays the 4. So I think Jabari, his destiny is that the 5, and they're gonna have to move on from him, especially if they want Klingon.
Yeah. I'm a big Jabari fan. Ross from Rob. Do you think Trae Young is a reality?
No.
Okay.
Nope. Sure don't.
Lito, Carlo playing in the summer league.
Who's Carlo with a C?
That's Carlo Mac. Oh no, it's K. It's with a K, but it's okay.
He's a crip.
Is he playing somewhere? Rob, I've seen conflicting reports about some the nature of Carlo's status. I don't know.
Yeah, what was that tweet? Well, that was a weird. Is that what you're talking about? What? Let me read it. Go ahead.
I don't know. I haven't heard anything from the Pelicans. I don't know if he's Justin's about to read the tweet.
How do you look last year in summer league?
He was
horrific.
For lack of a better word, he was fucking bad.
So Yes, Barcelona negotiated the transfer of power forward Carlo, according to sources close to the player from Croatia. I'm sorry, Croatia. It could become official next week. I don't know what that. I don't know what that. I have no idea what that means.
See,
I have no idea.
I don't know. They be doing all kind of money laundering and shit. So
I'm just not gonna even lie. I have no idea. Chris, who's your starting five next year? Actually, I want the whole panel to answer this one. Who's the starting five next year? Chris, go ahead.
Game one. Talking about game one.
Game one.
Game one. CJ, Herb, Trey, Zion, mid-level minimum center.
Player. I need a player.
Oh, I mean, we did a show on Goga Batate.
Goga.
His family flew all the way from wherever they from to New Orleans to watch him play.
Georgia.
Yeah, there you go. Not from Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
Like
that team though is worse. That team's that. The funny part is like that team's worse than the team you have right now. Just to be clear.
But yeah.
But anyway, CJ Herb, Brandon Zion, and Jonas Valanciunas. I still think JV's back. I think JV's back. I've been saying that from the jump. I still believe Valanciunas will be a Pelican next year.
Lito.
I mean, when you're right, you're right. Yeah.
Okay. Chaz.
Murray, CJ, Trey, Zion, and Kessler Walker.
Walker Kessler.
Walker Kessler.
Just let him run.
His name now is Kessler Walker.
Yeah.
Fuck that kid.
Keller Williams. Let it run.
Name this podcast Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire.
And Kessler Walker.
And I'm the middle guy.
What was the one Stephen Hoffman used to?
DeJounte Moore. That was DeJounte Murray. That's crazy. Lita, how do y'all feel about DeAndre?
No, indeed, no. Hell no. Shit, no. Hey, listen. Ever since Lexi Brown went on, first of all, I got eyes, so I ain't really need her to say this. But ever since Lexi Brown went on Gilbert Arenas' podcast, and she said that, quote unquote, why he plays so soft. I can't not see it. He don't have no aggression. Like he's the crazy part is like people be upset with JV, you know what I'm saying, or his lack of whatever. Like you'd be infuriated with Aiden because he got so much potential. And the other thing with Aiden is too, like you see him with a great point guard, right? So to come to this team and do what? Like, what would he do? Because who's gonna feed him the ball? There's no pick and roll being ran. Like, there's nobody to do that for him to get him easy shots. Dynamic guard, taps the sign.
Ross, no, who? Chris, Wendell Carter.
It's gonna cost more money than the Pelicans will have available.
Okay. All right, Todd. Are we gonna get a starting point guard? We'll go Chaz.
So we get it? Going to get one?
Yeah,
I think so. I think that's the role they settle in on.
Okay. Ross.
Yeah.
From Mike O. What about Robert Williams?
What about him?
Can I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead. Lee.
Retire.
Wow.
Retire.
Like, when was the last time he played?
Like,
honestly, when was the last time he played 5 games in a row?
Bro,
Did he play 5 games?
Them days is over, man. The Time Lord, he need a time machine. That shit is done, man.
Okay.
I'd rather Ayton. If I'm gonna do a deal with Portland, I'd rather give me Ayton and Brogdon or something.
Excuse me? Who's answering that question? Who's asking it?
Justin, what's his name?
Who's that?
Who's that?
It's blurry on my screen. What was it say, Justin?
Right.
Clint Capella? Can y'all see me? I don't know if I'm moving right now.
But who's asking it?
See it on your screen?
Brian Pumper. I mean, I'm reading the fucking name. Like, what do y'all want me to do? I don't get what I'm supposed to do. Like, what do y'all want me to do for real? Do y'all want me to make up a different name? I'm fucking frozen on the stream. You know, like, what do you want me to do? Like, his name's Brian Pumper. Like, shit, man. You know, like, I gotta re-enter the studio for a second. Hold up.
You want me to answer the Clint Capella?
Yeah, answer the Clint Capella.
Let's talk about Clint.
Back.
If he was free,
Sorry.
if Clint Capella was free, yes, he would be a perfectly fine 1 year. I think he's got 1 year and $20 million left on his deal, if I'm not mistaken. He would be a perfectly adequate 1 year stopgap. And I think if you do, because I want to say Chaz a second ago just said he thought Murray would be the starting point guard. I think if you get Murray, it's imperative that you get it. Like, you got to just, they're going to give you Capella free in that deal if you do something like that. So he'd be a perfectly fine 1 year, sort of just kick the can down the road on the center spot. I got no problem with Capella. I wouldn't want to pay him again.
What's his contract?
I think he's got 1 year.
1 year, like $22 million.
Yeah,
there you go.
So there's very little risk.
And
to be fair, if something goes wrong this year, like as a
Yeah.
tradable salary at the All-Star break, I got no problem with Capella. My problem with those guys is if you're having to commit, and I couldn't agree with more with what Chris said earlier about Claxton. There was a huge difference for me in trading for Claxton at the All-Star break versus now paying Claxton in free agency. There's a huge difference in those things. They're talking about Claxton getting 20 plus million a year. You're talking about 3-4 years, 80 plus million for Nick Claxton. Hell no. But 1 year and 20 million as a stopgap for Capella, I got no problem with that.
Okay. Do y'all want to invite some people on and come on the show? Y'all care?
No.
Bring them on.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Y'all got time? Chris? Chaz? Cool. So look, I'm putting the link in the chat. If y'all want to join the show, y'all can join the show, ask questions of the panel. You don't have to put the video on.
No.
Fuck that. You gotta put the video.
Yeah, you gotta show face.
Yeah, show face. Let's get to so if y'all want to join the show, just put the link in the chat so y'all come join the show, and then I'll bring it up after the segment. Let's go tweet of the week. Tweet of the week presented to you by Standard Mortgage, your local lender for life. To get in touch with a home loan expert today, give them a call at 504-569-3902. It comes from Chaz. And the tweet of the week, we'll start with you, Lito. Jazz received Brandon Ingram, Larry Nance, 2024 first round New Orleans Pelicans pick. Pelicans received John Collins, Walker Kessler, Colin Sexton, and Utah's first round pick at number 10. Are you doing that, yes or no?
Make that shit happen.
You like it?
Make it happen.
Why do you like the trade?
Because that's you not go get put the trade back up one time. First of all, you get it. You just said we don't have a starting center. Not only do we not have a starting center, you don't have a 5. You get it. You get a starting 5. You get a lead guard. You get the picks, and you receive John Collins, a role guy, a lob threat, a guy who didn't fully, like, his time in Utah has not been great. You know what I'm saying? You saw a lot of him not understanding their scheme. I think that, you know, John is a guy who could be on the move still, because you don't have a guard here that would play into his talent. Like you saw what he did with Trae Young, right? Colin Sexton, I don't know if he can fulfill that type of role and make John like that type of player. Because then, if not, John is spot up shooting threes, and I don't believe in John shooting threes like that. But overall, the deal for me, like, I'm with it. I like it.
Okay, Ross, what's your thoughts on that?
I can't understand why in the hell Utah would even consider that. I'm serious. Chaz must have been on one when he put that one together. I really don't know what do they get?
We're gonna hear Chaz's thoughts on that.
What do they get?
They get Brandon Ingram.
They get 1 year Brandon Ingram. There ain't no way Brandon's re-signing in Utah. And they move back in this draft. And
What if I could add the Lakers? What if I had the Lakers first round pick to that?
I think you'd have to, and even then, I don't know if they say yes because they're still moving back in this draft. So you still lose this draft, you potentially lose Brandon next. Like, I just don't see where they get anything. I mean, Walker Kessler would certainly get you a better return around the league, especially in combination with another pick. John Collins actually improved this year. I thought John Collins played pretty well for Utah, all things considered this year. I think he was basically his numbers were up across the board. He was a much more impactful player this year for him. I don't know. I guess I want to hear what Chaz's thoughts there because you look if I'd sign me up for the deal, make no mistake. But I think it's crazy. That's a lot for Utah to give up.
Chris, go ahead, and then we'll hear Chaz's thoughts behind that trade.
I'm not a big Colin Sexton fan, but if Utah would even like remotely think about it, I think that's a deal that you do. I do like the idea of Walker Kessler, and the Pelicans have been interested in John Collins for forever now. Like he's approaching like Dennis Schroeder status, of course. And I won't even like, Chaz is gonna explain his thoughts about the draft, but I wouldn't even. I think John Collins is there for salary purposes, but even if if you take away the draft picks and if we're trimming this trade down to 2 of the 3 players listed, I'd still possibly be interested just based off of the fact of the kind of players you will be added. Kessler, as long as we're talking about a Walker Kessler edition, I'm cool with it.
I agree.
Chaz.
I think it's too. For one, I think the Pelicans will have to add Dyson at minimum. John Collins, potentially an expiring salary. He has a player option. I think he's gonna take the money though and just opt into his contract. I think why the Pelicans do it is obvious. 2 players. Colin Sexton is also a guy. Really, at this point, it's 3 players that Griff would love to have. If I'm not mistaken, I think Griff drafted Colin Sexton. If I'm not mistaken, he had some trade interest in him in the past. We all know about the John Collins trade interest, and I'm sure he would love a player like Kessler. 10th pick to me, I don't really care, especially in this draft. I don't think the 10th pick is as relevant as it would be in past drafts. In fact, if you have the 10th pick in this draft, you might be looking to trade back to get multiple picks. You might be trying to say, hey, maybe if I move back, I can go get Edie or something. And for Utah, again, that's a market, never going to be a free agent destination. The only reason you trade for a Brandon is so you can lean into the Laurie marketing rebuild. You get a guy who's a traditional, he's a wing facilitator, but he's more of a skilled passer than a Colin Sexton, probably. Has a bit of a brand name. I think Brandon going whoever gonna pay him, honestly, because I think Brandon turning 27 at the start of the season, going into year 9, becoming a free agent. I don't think the max contract is gonna be out there like that. Just being honest, like I think he go to Utah gonna be the spot that he planned at for a while. Even if he take the money and request out later, you rarely see guys like who not all stars like that really going to free agency because who has cap space to sign him? Detroit. Why don't Detroit just trade for him now? Like they got people they want to get rid of. Like I'm really thinking about it. I can't think of many people who even would have the cap space to sign him in markets that he would want to go. He can't go to Phoenix where he spends time at. Couldn't go to Atlanta. Couldn't go to any real content. Couldn't go anywhere nice. He couldn't go anywhere except if like LeBron retires, maybe he can make his way back to the Lakers or some shit. But he really couldn't go anywhere except for re-up with the team that trades for him. So I think that would be the logic behind the trade. If I'm Utah, I think I could probably do better. But they've already like Kessler, whatever. Walker he's a co-starter. Him and John Collins co-start at the 5. So I feel like you're upgrading the Larry position and you're upgrading this 5 position. Well, you're addressing the 5 position and you're giving a little bit of Zion insurance with John Collins, give a guy who gives some starter minutes. to me, Colin Sexton kind of goes without saying you're upgrading. I would throw Jose in that deal too. I'm just trying to upgrade at every position.
Yeah. We'll go a couple more comments. So, worst case draft night. I'll answer this: if we draft Messi, that will be the worst case scenario. So, last question, Ross. Do y'all think Zion? Well, Ross and Chris, and then we'll go 5 seconds to Ludo. Do y'all trust Zion to be healthy next year, and how many more years until you're fed up with him on your team?
I think I'll answer the second question first. If he's not healthy, I guess I'll answer both at the same time. If he's not healthy for more than like 65 games next year, I'll be fed up. I'll be like, because we've been focusing on Brandon this offseason, but the Zion time is coming too. Like, I thought he played really well this year when he was healthy. But it's like if you're gonna lean in to, hey, we're gonna build the roster around you and maybe spread the floor, maybe you don't get hit as much driving to the bat. Like, if the team really leans in that direction and does those things, and he still can't make it through a season, then what's the point? For me, because he's probably not going to sign another contract here anyway. So you don't want to find yourself in the situation that you're in now with Brandon. So I'll say, I mean, if he can't get through next year fully healthy, like he hadn't played a playoff game. You got to play you got to make it to the playoff game. You got to make it to the playoffs at some point. So yeah, look, I'll to be honest with you, I think next year will be what, year 6, right? Yeah, I mean, like if he can't get through a full healthy season next year, then like I've seen, it is what it is, bro.
Chris.
I mean, I'm fed up now. I'm fed up with the entire operation, Zion included, to be real. But I don't trust him to play 70 games, but because I think one way or another, you're going to be asking him to do more to start the season than you did last season. If you trade Brandon, you're definitely asking him to do more. And you haven't seen him be able to carry large amounts of responsibility and stay healthy. Like, and you could put that in a bunch of different, you could blame it on a bunch of different reasons, but a lot of times that really starts with him. I gotta see him really commit now. I need to see what he looks like. Fuck the Shaq thing where he comes into camp and like, I'll play my way into shape. I think Zion has that kind of situation set up, but I need to see the dedication now. And part of that does start with the front office saying this is all on you and seeing how this goes. I think for a person like him, whether he's deserved it or he's earned it or not. But yeah, I'm fed up now. I don't think he will play 70 games. But if you get 60 games out of him and you get 60 games to where he's the clear number one and everything is built around him, I think it's more impactful than the games he played last season. Even if he plays 55 and 50, I'm thinking Embiid with Zion. Embiid can play 42 games and somehow Philly will still be in the playoffs. And as long as he's healthy and he can make it through a series, which rarely happens at this point, it works. Right. So I don't need Zion to play 70 games. Healthy Zion, to me, if he's number one, it could be 50 games. It could be 55.
Good point. Let's go 5 seconds with Lee.
Audio Jungle.
We get your own beat then.
All right, yeah, because the music's terrible. All right, listen. I want to answer that question.
What question?
The question about Zion.
Okay.
Nah, I don't believe that he can. I don't trust him to be healthy, and like I'm fed up. There should not still be questions about your fitness or your endurance in going into year 6. Like, the answer should be concrete at this point. We should know who you are. I know who he is from a talent perspective, but I don't know. Like, I get it. We trying to get rid of Brandon, but I still can't trust this other guy. Like, I don't 100% know if I could trust this other guy. Like, I don't know if I could put the farm on him. I can't bet the house on him. Like, he ain't showing me no different. Look, me and Justin was talking earlier. I'm just gonna keep it real with y'all. Like, this shit about to be bleak, dog. It's bleak. Like, it's Memphis. There's no rhymer. Like, you're not gonna win a Brandon trade. There's not gonna be like, yo, dog, we talking about Jock Landale coming to the Pelicans. Like, you don't got no, like, there's no good perspectives about to happen for you. Yeah, you gonna have a starting center, but shit, it might be your cousin Earl from across the street. Like,
So we got Earl and
Earl and Frank.
And Frank and
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like,
what is Earl? So Frank's the 3-point specialist. Who's Earl?
Earl he's just a flagrant fouler. Like, Earl don't have nothing.
Gotta
good
have one of
going
those
on.
guys.
He Bill Lambier. That's what Earl is, you know what I'm saying? And that's basically what y'all looking at, man. Like, I don't know, you won them 48, them 49 games. You know, your front office sitting in the tower right now, patting yourself on the back. This shit over, man. This shit over. It's not good. I'm just keeping it real with you.
Brian Pumper, yes, we're drafting ED. Smash the like button. See you later. It's his name.